Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
So what is the most important part of giving a successful tour? So many centers live and die by the art of the tour. The tour that's given can either move families into taking action that same day or ideally in the very near future, or it can do the exact opposite. And it can repel them. It can take their number 2 or number 3 choices and then bump them up a spot when they were thinking that your center was the number 1. These tours and the importance and the structure cannot be underestimated. But the problem is that you're not operating from structure. You're not operating from consistency, which we'll talk a little bit about. But the interesting thing is, the most important component, it's not the actual tour. It's not how you follow up after the tour. It's not all of the moving pieces during the tour, and is a other teacher, are they waving, and is everything clean, and does everything smell good? It's actually none of that. The most important component to the tour is all of the things that happen before the tour. So hear me out and let's kind of talk this through. So you might be saying, well, Michael, are you trying to tell me that the tour isn't important? Now, the tour is very important. However, I need people to walk in the door to where they are pretty much already pre-sold, and the tour is only part formality and part kind of confirming that they're making the right decision. The tour, again, it is very, very important, but it's all of those little micro steps that happen before the tour starts. And the first piece is whatever that initial contact with you is. Did they call in to try and schedule a tour? Did they talk to you on live chat? Did they interact with your AI bot on your website? Did they text in? Did they drop by and try and get a same-day tour or a tour as they're walking in? Did they visit with you at a community event? That first interaction is mission critical. And in auditing and looking at all of the steps, so this whole process of A, B, C, D, E, and just continuing to go forward, all of these parent touch points, every one of them needs to be flawless. Every one of them needs to be connected. And I've looked at not even hundreds, I'm going to say hundreds, I mean thousands of these, from phone calls to email interactions, text messages, the live chat. I've stood at hundreds of community events, including community events for the centers that I own, as well as for centers that we're helping work with. We're throwing on a polo or a t-shirt with their brand on it and helping them out. And more so watching. We're watching the interactions. We're watching what's being asked. We're watching what's being said back to those families. Every step needs to be flawless. Because if you have something that's disjointed, one of the biggest things that's going to show is your no-show percentage. Show a little no pun intended there. If your no-show percentage is climbing, there's a couple of ways to diagnose that. One of which is, are the leads not good? So people are scheduling these tours and the leads aren't great. And that could be part of it. Or B, which is more often the reason they no-show, is that they didn't get that connection. They didn't build that connection. They didn't feel the connection with your center. So they're like, I don't know if I want to go to this one today. We have 4 others to visit. They didn't even call to remind me. Forget about it. And they just no-show. So all of that pre-work is going to make or break how successful your tour is. Now, if you give a tour that is an absolute train wreck and you're in a bad mood, and to me, the kiss of death is not referring to the child's name throughout the tour. There's a lot of other kiss of deaths, but that's the most obvious and the biggest one that I see is the director or assistant or whomever is giving the tour just talks in general terms about the location and all the fun benefits and things like that, but they never say things like, one of my daughter's names is Chloe. They don't say, well, this is the classroom that little Chloe will be in. This is the teacher that Chloe will have. This is where Chloe will eat breakfast, or like all those kinds of things. You miss out on a huge, huge opportunity. But it's all those initial reactions. So what do you need to do to tighten up the ship? Like, where do you focus first? I talked about community events and email and phone and all these different things. Very rarely is there a instance where there's no phone conversation. Now, people like to do business through text. I'm one of those. But the chances are pretty high there's going to be some kind of phone interaction. Even if you book the tour yourself, part of your process needs to be calling and confirming the tour, calling and reminding them, getting all the core details. So there's going to be some type of phone interaction. So I would highly suggest you focus there. And the easiest thing to do is to build out scripts. Now, if you're not like some of the centers that we work with that have a couple of people that are dedicated to answering the phones, that's all they do. They're not directors, they're not assistants, they're not teachers, they're family relationship coordinators, for example. Their only job is to help drive the enrollment process. Some centers have that resource, some of them do not. So let's make the assumption that you don't, that the directors or an assistant is going to be answering the phone. How do you make sure that you have that consistent experience? Talked about consistency earlier. One of the big things I see, especially with multiple location businesses, is I could call one center and I could have one type of conversation. I could call another one of their locations, ask the same questions, give the same introduction, and I could have a completely different experience. I know this firsthand. We secret shop centers all day, every day, in person, over the phone, through email, text, etc. I could have one center be telling me that they don't disclose rates over the phone, and then their other location sings and gives everything right over the phone. Here are all of our rates, here's the enrollment fee, all that kind of stuff. I could call a different center and ask, what are a couple of the reasons why I should enroll at your location compared to other centers? Ask the same question 3 or 4 other times at different locations, and they're all going to give me different answers. So how do we get that consistency? And this consistency is fine even if you've got one location. The easiest win that you can take and implement over the next couple of days is a phone script. If you comment script on here, I will make sure that you personally get the script. We've trained, tested, refined over the last 10 plus years the exact script that we use at all of my locations and the script that I train everyone else on. Now, what's interesting with this script is that you might say, well, it feels a little bit plain. You're going to give it your personality. You're going to add your flair, but the script is there so that you don't miss any of the mission critical stuff. So in listening to, I listened to a whole bunch of calls over the last couple of weeks for a center that I just visited. And it was interesting because to me, some of the most basic stuff is what's your name, phone, email, child or children's name, and their birth dates. Most basic stuff. Great, so I'm so happy that you're calling in today. Would you mind if I asked you a couple of quick questions so that I can best serve you? And I want to we'll take care of the boring stuff. What's your name again, your email, the phone number, and obviously if you can see the phone number that they're calling in on, you can say, is the number you're calling in on, is that your cell phone? Is that the best number? No, that's my work number. Let me give you my cell. Obviously, I want a cell number. I want to be able to text. I want to be able to send those text message reminder messages. And then you get to, great, now let's get to the fun stuff. Tell me about your son or daughter. What was their age? I want to make sure we're putting them in the right classroom and that I can give you all of the most applicable information. So you can add your tonality and your style, but if you're not working off of a script, what ends up happening is when they actually get to the tour, whomever is giving the tour now is operating at a little bit of a loss because they don't have all those important details. Now, the contact details, those are just the 101 details. I want to know what they're most interested in. What are some of their biggest concerns? What other centers are they looking at? What timeline? I want all of that so that I can serve that up on a silver platter. Give it to the director and they've got all the notes. So all of that preparation before you start your tour. But if you're giving an exhaustive welcome call to where you're getting lots of information from them, you're letting them talk, you're just listening and absorbing, and you're giving them a couple of fun points, like you can deviate off of the script a bit based on what you're hearing. If they say security is our number one concern and you say, okay, great, I have 3 other questions to ask you, like that's a perfect point. You pause, you take that, and I'm so happy that you said that that's your biggest concern. You're going to experience it when you come and tour, but let me give you a couple of the quick details just so that you can be rest assured that that is our number one priority and concern as well. We've got cameras in every single one of the classrooms. We have double doors. You have to have a fingerprint to get in. So all of those different things. So that's how you start to make it a little bit more fun, so to speak, but a little bit more custom. And from there, and that's where I want you to focus first. I want you to nail the script so that you can have consistency. People are asking the same questions, saying the same things, giving out all the right stuff that you want to be given out. All of the little extra steps that I'll continue to talk about in future episodes are things like sending them something physically in the mail before the tour. Sometimes with how it's being scheduled, that might not be possible. I love to send a welcome kit before they walk in the door. That is another thing that drives the law of reciprocity and helps with reducing no-shows. I want to make sure that I have a couple of other touch points before the tour. And it's not just calling to remind you, calling to see, are there any other questions? Are there any things in particular that we didn't talk about on our first call that you want to make sure that you see during the tour? Any other concerns that you want to bring up? I want to make sure I get all those notes to the director so that you have an amazing experience. You want to know who else is coming with them. Is their child coming with? Yes or no? All of those preparation notes, all of those touch points, A, B, C, D, E, F, all of those need to be flawless so that when your director is then prepping for the tour, they've got all the notes, they know what they're looking for, they're able to kind of customize the tour a little bit, they're able to reference and call certain things out. It just makes for that seamless tour. But my final little point of advice and a tip, tactic, very, very easy win is that I want in your lobby a sign that welcomes the family. I want their name on the sign. Small little holder, welcome the Smith family. Very simple. Very few families don't stop and take a picture with it. It's those tiny little details leading up to the tour. Having a great first impression phone call, getting some swag if you're at a community event, getting the reminder messages via calls, emails, text messages, people knowing where to park when they show up. And then when they walk in, seeing their name on a sign, the director has been able to customize the tour, and then they move into tour mode. That stuff is much more important than the actual tour and even the close. Get out there, start working off scripts to better improve your tours. It's Michael Tassner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.